All right, so this was pretty cool. Yesterday we had our first APS VPP event. And I'll go into what a VPP event is here in more detail in a second. It's not an event, it's not a party. They just call them events. But basically, and I'll go into the details of how the program works with APS, but super quick, basically, when APS predicts that there's going to be heavy usage of the grid, right? So for example, yesterday was really, really hot. It was like 115, 118. And so they knew that a lot of people are going to be using their ACs during a particular time, right? And so during that time with these events, basically what happens is that APS actually asks you, and this is through the Tesla app, and they basically ask you, can we use your batteries to support the grid? Okay, they call it a load reduction event. And basically what happens again is, your house uses the batteries as well, like during this time period, but then excess amount, they actually pull from your batteries and that goes back into the grid and essentially straight into your neighbor's house. And so it was cool I've had my batteries here for a few months now, about 4 months. And this is the first time that they've actually been called upon to help support the grid. And so really, really cool to see. I'm gonna show you guys kind of how that looks like in the app, what the notifications look like, and again, how the program actually works. Jumping into the app, this screen recording is actually from a couple days ago when the event was scheduled. And so you can see here that it's saying that there's going to be an event on July 25th from 7 to 10. So it's a 3-hour window. And APS is saying, can we use your battery during that time frame? Now, they've got 1,634 homes in APS territory that have signed up for this program, this Virtual Power Plant VPP program, in order to help support the grid and send power back to the grid when it's a period of high usage. Okay, you can opt out of this event. I'll go into a little bit more details of why you would opt out and how that affects it. But when the actual event is happening, this is what the app looks like. So as you can see here, our home was using 7.6 kilowatts during that time, and we're sending 5.8 kilowatts back to the grid. So the power itself coming from the battery is 13.4 kilowatts. 7.6 of that we're using ourselves. 5.8 is going back to the grid. And total is 5.9 megawatts out of the 1,634 homes that are participating in this program. Okay, so the question is, why would we take part in this program? And really the simple answer is because APS, which is Arizona Public Service, our local utility, they will pay us to take part in this program and help support the grid. And so the way that the program works is they will pay $110 per kilowatt, per average kilowatt that is contributed back to the grid. And so as an example, we had a 3-hour event, and during that 3 hours, depending on what the grid needed, which is really kind of what your local neighborhood needs, it differed anywhere from, at some points we were pushing back 5 kilowatts, at some points we were pushing back 12, 13 kilowatts back to the grid. And so they're gonna take the total amount that was pushed back, they're gonna divide it by 3, and then you're gonna get an average per hour kilowatt that was pushed back to the grid. So let's say in our scenario, sometimes we were doing 5, sometimes we were doing 12. Let's just say the average, let's say it was more on the lower end, and the average is, 8 kilowatts during that 3-hour event. And so APS, what they're gonna do is they're gonna take 8 kilowatts times $110, and that's basically, they're gonna pay us $880 for helping the grid during that event. Okay, now that's only if there's one event. Obviously, if there's future events between now and the end of October, then they're gonna also take that into consideration and they're gonna average it all together. And so you're not gonna know until the end of the season, until the end of October, of what you're gonna get paid out, but you're gonna get something paid out, which is amazing. Okay, now I did mention earlier, you do have the option to opt out an event if you want to, but this is kind of gamified by them because if you do, you're basically gonna get dinged. And so opting out an event now counts as a 0 when it comes to your averages. So let's say there's another event in a week and I opt out of that event. Well, that's going to count as a 0 in our scoreboard. And so you take 8 from the first event plus 0, 8 plus 0 is 8 divided by 2 because you're averaging between the two events. Okay. And now you only have an average of 4. And so instead of getting $880, you're only going to get $440. And so they really want you to, they don't want you to opt out of these events. They want you to help support the grid, really kind of help your local neighborhood. And I think it's a great program. I mean, you've got your batteries, they help you in a grid outage, which by the way, you can obviously set a minimum amount. So if you want to make sure that, hey, I want to make sure that I still have a percentage left in case there's a power outage, then you can certainly do that. Okay, but obviously the more you give back to the grid during these events, the more you're going to be rewarded for it. So I thought it was pretty cool. A first event to kind of see how that works in real life, right? Like an actual customer experience, which we're an actual customer. And so just wanted to share that with everybody in case anybody was curious on how all this works.